Hi everyone. A few minutes late. I do apologize. I have got the joys of attempting to do back-end tech stuff. Can you give me a quick shout out to let me know if the sound is okay? I'm testing out a new microphone. I know I seem to be constantly going through microphones. And hopefully this one is good. I tried it myself beforehand and the sound seemed to be really nice. So I would just really love to get a little bit of verification. So give me a shout if the sound is good. Oh, there we go. Linda, the sound is good. Excellent. I don't want to be babbling on for forever and people not being able to hear me, which has happened before with the previous mic that I was trying. That's the downside to getting, the last one I got was a very cute little one, but very cheap from Amazon, and it didn't work at all. So I went for the much better quality one this time. So hopefully the sound is better. So as I said on the heading, and you may have spotted that our Seasons Club has shipped. Laura has been crazy busy all week and she's been packing. Yes, Laura, she's behind over there ignoring me. But she has been crazy busy with packing stuff up. So all of the spring seasons ones have now gone and been shipped out and they look fantastic. They're packaged really nicely as always. So fingers crossed that everything comes in the next few weeks. Again, be aware that anyone who is based in Ireland or perhaps in the UK are going to get a bit faster. Others may take a bit longer. So sometimes it can take a few weeks. So but I know that Australia and New Zealand seem to be particularly slow at the moment. I saw someone was suggesting that possibly the flooding in Sydney had something to do with it. They are getting there. It's just taking a really long time. So whatever lag or black hole has managed to manifest itself in the southern hemisphere, it's not making things disappear. It's just really slowing them down. So I wish I could kind of help make that move a little bit faster, and unfortunately some of the other methods, like I use FedEx as well and things like that, but particularly for Australia and New Zealand, shipping with FedEx has gone really expensive. It's still an option, obviously, particularly if you want to bundle it together. And in fact, that's something I meant to say. If you ever are getting clubs with me and you would like to do something like FedEx, you can also bundle several of them in together in order to be able to actually ship them out more quickly. So that's another option that you can actually get in contact with us about. I want to thank you all as well, of course, for our lhasa cardigan last week, which we launched. And all of the kits started going out at the end of last week, started this week, and there's been tons out the door. You may have noticed at the beginning, we had, let me grab it, we had put an add-on onto the pattern for the little mother of pearl buttons. They ran out really quickly. It was more popular to be able to get a button add-on than I realized it was. I've just right now gone and had a new order that we've put in. So you're able to pop on the website and you can order the mother of pearl buttons. So the cardigan's behind me here. I'll turn it around. Maybe I should bring this over here. That might be more sensible. Cardigan is in underneath here. So it's the mother of pearl buttons is the one, and it uses 6 of them. If you make a longer cardigan, you also have the option of obviously putting in more buttons. But for the cardigan, it's written 6 buttons is sufficient. And the reason is, of course, that it's a V-neck, so it's not going all the way up to the top. It's just going up to the point where the 2 parts are joining, and once you've got the V, you don't need any buttons at that point. But this was kind of an accidental combination in the office, where this is the last knit along that we did. It's our quilted feather, and this is the Carbetho and Fino version. And we realized actually the 2 colors would not normally be something that would occur to put together, but the green and the butternut actually look really nice together. So who knows, another interesting combination in our future. We've been spending a lot of time talking about colors and color combinations and things actually here in the office. because we're doing a little bit of work on branding and things like that in the background. And part of that is kind of expanding the colors we use when we're looking at it, and more importantly, having colors that are really us. So we're kind of moving into the more earthy tones with some, which would be quite fitting with the kind of photographs we take, because we're always outdoors and in the countryside here in Ireland. And then any pops of color are kind of like the flowers that you'd see, the gorse, bright sky, things like that, so that they all fit. It's very, very much what, like taking all of the colors of the Irish countryside in both the winter and the summer, and using those as colors in what we are to a certain extent. So it is actually a lot of fun putting that stuff together, and things I haven't thought about before. So it's designing in a totally different sense, but very enjoyable. The end of things that is less fun is, of course, the whole technical side of things, which for some reason, websites have this little mind of their own where they keep deciding to just change things randomly, and something that worked one week, the next week will not work for some apparent reason. So that's why I was late to my Zoom here today, is because I was trying to fix a technical problem on the back end. Surprisingly, actually, some of the lhasa ones that were going out, the kind of colors that are very popular that it never occurs to me was, let me pull this out, Unexpected Macaw, which is kind of a light denim-y blue. And if I can find it, it's probably not down there, but maybe you can see this here. Late Night Blues is actually almost like a dark version of that as well. It's a deep denim, almost like an indigo denim. So if you like darker colors over whatever you're wearing in the summer, I think the Late Night Blues is actually a really, really good option. To me, it's like the Unexpected Macaw and Late Night Blues are kind of the two denim-y colors. You've got your faded washed out denim, and then you've got something that's a little bit closer to an indigo denim. But they're very denim-y colors, which is how we ended up picking them. And I think the linen going through it gives it even more of a denim color. You know, the way in denim, even with indigo, you'll always have the flecks of slight lighter white running through it for the threads that may not have been dyed as it goes through the back of it. And it very much reminds me of that. Something else that actually came back into stock. Let me find it here. There's a few more of these little knitting balls, leather tags that you can sew onto projects, the corner projects. They had been out of stock for a while, so they've just come back. They're particularly cute, I think, on small little kid cardigans, hats, even the edge of a hat, if you've rolled the top up and having it on that is really nice. And this was the one that I was showing you last week, was the knitting calculator, which sold out very quickly initially, and we've got a little bit more of those back in stock. So, but I am surprised by how much you're all loving the buttons, because buttons was something I very slowly added in the background, but it does seem that you're all enjoying buttons. So it's something we're probably going to expand a little bit more as we go along. And if there's any particular size buttons that you have a difficulty locating, let us know, or different styles. Like, we can't get everything, obviously, but we'll keep our eyes open for particular sizes. So for next autumn, we're thinking of doing a much larger button on a new version of the Barak cardigan. So it uses just one really big wooden button. So we're going to see if we can find some big statement buttons that you can use for the cardigan, where it's just one, but a lot of fun. And the other end that I've been trying to get hold of are really small ones. So if you've got, I should pull it out, the Citrus Dream, one of my favorite summer cardigans, because it's super lightweight, done in a fingering weight, four ply weight, but it's got lots and lots of knitted buttons down the front. So you want really lightweight, very small buttons. So I must get hold of some of those that can be used for it. But that's one. I know a lot of people with Citrus Dream have knit multiple versions of Citrus Dream in different colors, because it does tend to go so nicely with so many summer cardigans and things like that. But if you have any other questions about what's on the website, or even coming up with the lhasa cardigan and things like that, just shoot up a question to me there. Same in between each of these Zooms and each of these lives. if you have a question that comes up or something that's confusing you, or that you want more information about or would like to see compared up here, like colors compared on the screen and things like that, just let me know, because these lives are absolutely perfect for doing that. But you need to fire the stuff into me so that I'm then able to share with you. So please, please do push them in, and if you want to see it live like this, let me know. The lime cardigan behind me seems so nice. Which one is this one? I'm not sure which one is the lime cardigan. Is it this one? Might be. This one, some of you may know this very well. This is tabbouleh. This actually kicked off a lot of interest on Stolen Stitches a few years ago, because this, of course, was the one that won the Mason-Dixie. It's now Modern Daily Knitting, and it was their March Mayhem. And this is the front of it, and this is the back of it. And this one was done in frog on the wall color. It's in the newest sport. So it's actually a really fun cardigan, because it starts across here in the back and you work down one side, and you have all of these on hold here, and then you go back to the provisional cast on and you work out the other side. So then you've just got that strip across the back, and you pick up stitches down here to the underarm, and the front of it here there's different charts for each size, so that you've got all of those increases into the charts down as far as here. And then once you reach the underarm, you knit the front and the back all the way down in one piece. And this is actually probably one of my favorite parts, is that these columns of cabled lace come down as far as here as one piece, and then you're introducing your increases in between. So there's nothing different happening with the pattern, but you've just got more reverse stockinette stitch in between. So you can see the whole thing is an A-line then. And then the front of it, you just have them worked straight down, and there's itty bitty little pockets down the front as well. And then these are saddle shoulder. I'm not sure if you can see it properly. Saddle shoulders is worked from the top down with stitches picked up and worked back and forth. You were asking about the short row masterclass. You already own the short row class in Craftsy. Does the new masterclass contain information? These classes do not. It's almost all the same. The new information I would have in there is I wouldn't previously have had anything on shadow wraps, and it's probably kind of a merging of the book, the free course, and there's also an essential short row course. So it's kind of a merging of all of those three together, really, is probably the best way to put it. So it would definitely be a lot more than the free short row class, because that is just hitting on the initial basics. It goes a lot more into using it with different stitch patterns, which would be in the essential, which would be the next paid short row class. And it also is going to go into how you would move between one type of short row and another. But yeah, there's definitely plenty of crossover, because obviously a lot of the information is going to be the same. But if there was any specific questions that were kind of popping up as you're going through, you'll also have direct access to me. So, but yes, so speaking of short rows, this is all short rows on the shoulder, because the top part was those ones picked up, and then you pick up stitches around, and you work back and forth for the short rows to create the set-in sleeve along here. So anyone who has been doing patterns with me for a few years knows that that is my go-to set-in sleeve style, because it's easy to work, it's easy to get right, and it's very easy to modify if you want to make small changes along the way. So it's really a very, very good way of doing set-in sleeves. And in fact, this general style of sweater is very good if you need to modify things, because you start off with the width of your shoulders, and then you increase to the size you need for your bust. And if you need more room for your arms, or if you need it smaller, you can adjust the amount of stitches that you pick up. So it's quite easy to change each section of the pattern totally independent of the others. Because with raglan, when you think about it, if you want a deeper raglan and you work for longer, you're either going to have to work a big stretch where there's no increases, or if you add increases, then your bust is going to be bigger and your sleeves are going to be bigger. You can adjust them separately, but it's a little trickier because there's a lot of interdependencies between each of them. Whereas with this style, if you know that parts of a pattern are going to need a lot of adjustment for your body shape, it's very straightforward to go ahead and do. Your English is fine, Kathy. What's the yarn? This is New Sport, and the colour is Frog on the Wall. And the pattern name is Tabbouleh. I'll put it up afterwards as well when I'm actually putting the notes into it, so you can actually see it written down. But I sometimes forget that there's so many patterns because I see them and I pass them every day. So being able to pull them out and actually talk about different ones, it reminds me what went into the pattern and what all the different parts, the moving parts of it are, so to speak. And in fact, it was only just this morning or yesterday I was talking with Laura going back through Ravelry, and I keep forgetting how many patterns I've designed. Like, I'm probably close to or over 300 patterns at this point, and it happened over quite a few years, so you don't even notice it until you look back and you realize that there is a huge back catalogue there. You're having difficulties selecting the correct size to knit. Is there any chart to compare German and European sizes? There is centimeters. With sizing patterns, it's really, really important that you actually measure yourself, because usually if you just go according to sizes 1, 2, 8, 10 or whatever, you are basically saying it's random. There's not really an awful lot of consistency. That, like, sometimes I'll wear in UK sizes an 8, other times a 10, other times a 12. The only way to be sure is if you have the finished size numbers. So I will always recommend, when you are trying to size a pattern, either by yourself or with help from someone, measure the size of your bust. So if you're going to be using centimeters, so measure the centimeters, and that will give you your bust size. On patterns, it will then show you if the actual bust size and the recommended size, and the recommended size is going to include the ease. So for instance, if I had a 40-inch bust size and it was recommending a finished size of 44, that would mean that there was 4, in that case it's inches, but centimeters is going to be the same thing. It would be recommending 4 inches over my bust size for the ease. But you need to measure yourself, and then you'll be able to actually get accurate fits. Don't rely on garment sizes, because they're very, very subjective, and every single different company is going to have slightly different sizing. So the only way to get an accurate fit is the actual measurements of your body compared to the actual measurements of the finished size, because then you know that it's going to fit you. So that's why I actually don't ever put in any sizing information from a small, medium, large, or whatever like that, because I feel that it's more important that people measure themselves and use that as the starting point. I hope that makes sense to you. But it does mean that it takes a little longer. In fact, the biggest mess up I ever made when I was starting knitting was because I just went ahead and used the sizing on a pattern and didn't measure myself. I just went and said, oh, I always wear this size, I'm going to go knit that size. And I went to go knit that size and never ever looked at the numbers and the actual dimensions I was meant to be working towards. And I ended up with something that was far, far too big for me. Whereas if I had been working on real numbers, so to speak, I would have had a much better result. So go with your numbers and work out your sizing from that. It would be the best recommendation I'd have. So there's my little pep talk on measuring yourself, and it's something that I actually feel very strongly about because of the fact that I have messed up myself in the past, and I know that that's the only way that you can make sure that you're consistent across all sizes. Because if you know your size, you can then go to a schematic in an actual pattern, and you can see the measured sizes, and you can decide for yourself how much ease you want. If you want no ease, if you want positive ease, if you want negative ease, because people have, like, different patterns will have different ease suggestions, and some patterns look really good with loads of ease, and other times if you may decide that I don't like that much ease, and if you know the finished size, you can then make the adjustments as you go so that the rest of it will fit you, but that you've got less ease where you don't want it and things like that. So measurements and schematics are the way to go for sizing of garments. So there's my rant for the day on garment sizing. As you can probably tell, I could talk about it for quite a while. I have many thoughts. But if you've got more questions, or you actually even want to hear a little bit more about that, just give me a shout and we can talk more about it some other day. And thank you for all joining me this week. And gosh, it'll be the last Thursday in April next week. I cannot quite believe that we're approaching May. So I'm going to go and say goodbye to you all now, and I'll put up all of those links when we're finished in the chat here so that you're able to actually follow along. Bye everyone.